Good day to you, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. This is our webinar of the FIABCI World Council of Experts.
ที่รวมแล้วก็เกือบ100 ล้าน
FIABCI World Council of Experts is a
ตามนี้แหละ
committee in our FIABCI, and FIABCI is the World Federation of Real Estate. We have around 70 countries here, and also we have so many councils. We have Council of Developers, Council of Property Managers, and Council of PropTech, and many other council as well. So you can find out who are our council at our FIABCI website as well. Okay, so allow me to inform you that today's webinar is about the Sri Lankan economic crisis and China influence on real estate, on political economy. So this is the case, and it is now 3 minutes past 4. So we should start. Before we start, allow me to introduce our speaker, Mr. Dr. Darin C. Gunesekera. If I pronounce incorrectly, highly correct me, sir. Dr. Darin Gunesekera. He is a very well-known economist and also scholar in Sri Lanka. And you can know that he also worked for the United Nations Habitat, global best practice in affordable housing, and many other honors from many countries as well. And he is a doctor in economics, and his expertise is in stock exchange, stock market, and he was also a deputy governor of the Bank of Sri Lanka. And he also have experience in social housing and international organization advisors like World Bank, USAID, and other international agencies. So you can see his website. And now it is an honor for us to hear from Dr. Darin on Sri Lankan economic crisis and China's influence on political economy, which is very interesting because in our region we also have experienced China's influence and what should we prepare, what can we do. So this is what we will discuss today. So, Dr. Darin, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sopan.
Yes.
And thank you very much to all the guests and members who are present. It is a great delight for me to be here and speak to all of you. The problem that Sopan actually asked me to address is to give you some background to Sri Lanka. I'm sure you have all seen the news items about it. We have been in the news for various not very good reasons in the recent past. And but I would like to focus your minds on certain key aspects of Sri Lanka so as to have a sort of background before we discuss in detail the various lessons that can be gained by not only our neighbors in Asia, but probably especially in third world countries and probably globally on this subject. Let me start by my first slide, which I'm sure you can see, which is that Sri Lanka gained independence in 1948, and we did not truly become independent until we formed our own republic sometime later. The goal of the government of Sri Lanka was basically to uplift the people from a very low base. And this did happen. And by the time of the 1978 government, we had gone quite some distance. And the attitude of the government right from independence was that we do not join up with any global power. So we go to the secondary powers and they handle the global politics. So we basically went to the UK and India and other surrounding countries. That was the time of the USA versus Soviet Union. We didn't really go to the Soviet Union proper, but went to Yugoslavia, East Germany, so on, in that bloc. It is in around 1978 that we had our first executive president, new constitution, and he declared the desire to join ASEAN. Almost all the things that were done in Sri Lanka was with this goal in mind, and it required a great deal of infrastructure building. So we went into a lot of infrastructure building, and at the same time, the new constitution and government basically replaced the old colonial bureaucrats with politicians. And politicians took decisions and bureaucrats could be sent home at will. It went until we reached an extreme, which is the Rajapaksa regime, which went on till recently and is still somewhat there, where one family, coming forward as different politicians, but one family unit gained control of roughly 80% of the budget. The other feature during this whole period, and especially after 78, was that real estate, housing, the construction of homes tended to follow the construction industry. The government supported the construction industry and real estate followed. When I started my first project in affordable housing and REITs and so on, I found that I had to actually first educate realtors because we had really been concentrating on the construction industry. The real estate finance simply followed normal banking system, some specialized structures borrowed from other countries, but the mortgage system. And it was only after 1985 when we set up, myself leading the group, the stock exchange, and then there was the stock exchange financing of corporations. This system, because of its excessive corruption, and then finally the excessive control by one family and its head, ended up in a complete economic collapse. And the central bank declared that they could not service debts. The collapse occurred in 2022, and it was marked by the exit of money from the country, mainly due to corruption. And now these cases are coming up regularly. And also the political control of the budget. So the budgetary process and the government fiscal policy came fully under political control down to its details. Another feature you don't find in many countries is that exporters were required to repatriate only a small amount of their export earnings. It was initially 10%, now it is 25%. That means 75% is out there. And there is a lack of data with the central bank and all the officials because the older colonial system of data being shared from at the point of issue was stopped. And this lack of data enables those who are not repatriating their export earnings to get along with that. At the same time, from the 1980s, China appeared on our scene, and a special status was basically created by China, right up to the collapse. There's also been the handover of key ports and land areas to the Chinese government or Chinese corporations under long leases. I myself was involved in one of those discussions. The discussions were not overtly corrupt, but it arose and was taken into actual fruition and implementation in a very corrupt time. The China has, as a result, gained the status of being the main construction company in Sri Lanka, a status it still holds. It is currently having the largest construction project, which is the financial center city project called Port City, and which is having customers, and also the one which was to be the tallest building in South Asia, 1 kilometer high, which has never been completed and is very unlikely to. And even a cursory look, you will see that there are structural defects. Now, there is this wide range of real estate taken over by China. After the collapse of the economy and the central bank governor basically giving up, India came to our assistance, and Indian bailouts have prevented complete chaotic collapse and continues to enable the economy to grow. And along with that, we have finally this year the start of the IMF recovery plan. The IMF recovery plan is still in embryo. Now, overall, what we have seen is that we have had this economy in a time where the two global powers, USA and China, have come into conflict. For those of us who are dealing with China or were dealing with China day to day, it was quite clear that something happened in April 2018, and there was an economic war declared, at least on the Chinese side. And the Sino-Russian agreements and so on, we also saw happening. The key feature that I observed is that our economic condition and even our real estate projects, now tied up through the construction industry into the great power conflict, is a political matter. There may be technical words used, but there is no technical stuff, no economics. The existing world groups, in my opinion, with my standing and looking around from Sri Lanka, the groupings are very unreal because they are based on economics, culture, social, technical issues. So ASEAN in the Middle East and SAARC, to which we belong, these are not realistic global groupings today because the main feature, politics, is absent. We ourselves in Sri Lanka pursued what we call the neutral policy. It began with Mrs. Bandaranaike's declaration of the Indian Ocean Peace Zone. I worked for her myself. And neutrality was actually something that the Sri Lankans really believed in. But, you know, there is really no such thing. Switzerland is given as an example of neutrality, but if you look at the history of Switzerland during World War II, that neutrality was purchased at a certain price. The world we live in, we have the United States of America, which has a unilateral strategy of action. The United States of America doesn't follow anybody else's direction. And it acts through an international system, which is, for our small countries, we find led by the IMF and the other United Nations body of institutions, the World Bank, the ADB, affect us a lot. China does not operate like that. And this is a very important point we must understand. China operates through contracts in dealings with our people and ourselves as a government. And China has a sovereign government and it acts through a contract system. What is unseen when most of us discuss at that level, the contracts, is there is also a hoard principle. For instance, in our gems and jewelry sector, we found that there are hordes of Chinese who come. There is something unifying amongst them, but it is not part of the contract system. This is a horde comes in, they start as buyers, they end up also as suppliers. So there is an internal power system inside China, which gives a lot of strength to that contract system and the horde principle. And it is a complete power against the USA type of power. For small countries like ourselves, our governments are simply not big enough to assert themselves by themselves with the United States or China. We can certainly go and talk, and we have very good interviews, and we have seminars and conferences, but we don't have power. This has happened when a certain different system has arisen in the world. I myself am in the stock exchange and financial world, and I have seen the old system where we modeled ourselves, leading countries were Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore. And we had rules and regulations thinking of old-style capitalism. But this new capitalism is setting world markets, prices, and volumes. It is not individual capitalists. These are now asset managers, or the generic term Wall Street, or global centers. Now, they are driven by opportunities to buy and sell, and every buy and sell order or thought is carried in a time frame, and these time frames are fairly short. The financial securities have also undergone innovation. So securities that are used increasingly by this new capitalism are innovations. But the key feature is this capital holding in short-term positions. Right now, the government of Sri Lanka is discussing through IMF the matter of sovereign bondholders. But who are these sovereign bondholders? There's a lot of people. And but the moment the crisis started, and prices were about 30%, 30 for $100 bond, there was a new set of people who bought it, led by BlackRock and other asset managers. They were buying because they knew that the process that we are going to go through, they will get 50 within a year or two. And in fact, that is happening under the IMF process. So they suddenly became the largest single bondholder and forced the cases and so on. And we know that asset managers of that sort are holding decisive positions in the Sri Lanka economy. They have bought up almost all the computer-related resources companies and so on. Now, small countries have a system of existing bond and share situations, and we follow a certain system which used to be the international stock exchange and financial standards that no longer really exist because of the rise of this new capitalism, sometimes called finance capitalism, but it is one where the finance capital giants hold sway over small countries. Based on this experience, I would like to suggest the following items or topics for all of you to consider, and which I think represents the wisdom that you can get from the Sri Lankan experience of both rise and rapid fall. The first is that to separate this sector we are interested in, which is real estate and housing, from the rest of the stock market. Because property has a different cycle and different pricing and financing methods from the rest of the stock market, the general stock market. And it is very important to separate it so that its development can be handled separately. The second item which I would like to suggest as a principle is that we should, our countries and the governments and semi-government that compose the country, should set as goal the general national population's use of urban areas and housing. That is what we want to encourage, and that is what we want to see driving into the future, where the general national population has the housing and urban requirements that they need or wish. This means especially to avoid niche markets, because for us, actually, niche markets are a trap. And by that I mean avoid foreign demand-led schemes. The real estate is a fairly long-term investment, as investments go. And if you put yourself in a position where you are dependent on foreign demand or foreign-led demand, you may get into a trap or a situation that you cannot by yourself get out of. My solution, which I offer for this situation, is to bring the REIT, the Real Estate Investment Trust, rather than individual homes and houses and even housing schemes. To bring the REIT, to which you can add a social component, I term that the social REIT or S-REIT, but the REIT as the unit, even for infrastructure, so that we not only separate ourselves from the stock market and other instruments of general finance, but we also move our industry away from being from the supply side driven, that is contractor driven, to being driven by demand by individuals or groups or whoever. So the REIT is a very useful instrument for the purpose of creating a demand-led real estate picture rather than the construction industry-led, and also to separate that from the general stock market. These are my general recommendations. Let me get back to that slide. And I ask you, Sopon, to lead us into some discussion.
So it is very interesting to learn that we should not produce anything with foreign demand. It should be local demand. Otherwise, it may not meet the target group, or maybe have a problem of sales or something. And so right now, I would like to ask you, and maybe any other can also ask Dr. Darin, our economist from Yale University, first honor. That is, so right now in our region, in Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, right now there are some 6 students from Vietnam studying valuation here in our Thai Real Estate Business School. They also said that a lot of force from China and also Indonesia, Malaysia. So if you are the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, what should be the effective and immediate measures that we should do? Maybe you can summarize and tell us exactly what should we do so that our government or our colleagues can consider your recommendation on how to tackle with this force. And I remember that during 1970s, Japanese investors come a lot to Thailand. They open up shopping centers, big shopping center with escalators. In the past, there was no escalator in Thailand, but 50 years ago, around 50 years ago, Japanese shopping centers came with the escalator. Many people like it, and this is modern shopping center or arcade. So many students in Thailand protest a lot because we do not want to buy products from China, from Japan at that time. We think it is some invasion in economy. But right now there are so many things similar to that period, but no protest or nothing at all. So in this case, it may be some people may say that it looked like the situation may not be as good as in the past. So what is your recommendation, sir? What should we do if you were our Prime Minister or you were Prime Minister of Sri Lanka? Please.
Well, for a starter, support, never fight technology or the advance of industry and technology. That is just going to happen.
So
when
don't
Japan
fight.
expanded, the Japanese brought a lot of technology to all our countries, and that was not a bad thing, that was a very good thing. Right now, China is also bringing technology. All I'm saying is there is nothing wrong in that. But you must understand the situation that we are in. The situation is an increasing war between China and the USA, economic war. That real war, though they have wars and so on, there can't be a real war because it's a nuclear disaster. But economic war is a reality. Now, the reason I said don't get into niche markets is because all those countries you mentioned have a lot of tourism. So don't look at Sri Lanka, look at what happened to the Maldives. Maldives had the best, excellent resorts. They still have the same resorts. But they took one political decision. That was to say China, India out, and now look at Maldives. 1 year later, they are the same, they are in an economic collapse just the way Sri Lanka was. And it is worse. And the situation of those resorts are terrible. So you must realize that not to get into traps, because this new kind of capitalism dominating the world looks for people who go into traps and profits on it. So that is what you have to avoid. Now, to give you a little example, I gave a talk in Beijing a few years ago when such things are normal. And I gave my social REITs type of talk. After which I had a long session with some very rich people. They were the leading people in the real estate industry. Most of them actually not the leaders, but the sons who were looking for new ideas. All of them worth over $100 million. Some billionaires, one the son of a general in charge of Beijing. And they all told me, no, doctor, you don't understand. That is not how we do business. I said, no, you have to buy and sell houses, don't you? And no, China broker, China broker. They had a certain concept in their mind. You mustn't laugh at it because that is how they operate. And I took some time to try and understand what that meant. And actually, I later told them that you can have China broker, that's no problem. But you have an underlying problem because you are trying to match the old system of growth in China, which was based on local municipalities taking the lead, to a national type of, and the Central Bank of China getting involved. And in fact, it has happened, which is that that system has to change in China. Now, we have taken a lot of our own education time to learn the American system, British system, and European systems. We should actually take the similar amount of time to understand how the Chinese market operates and the relationship between demand and supply in that setting. You will be very surprised at some of the features. So My main
see.
object is to try to make you go into that field, because Thailand actually has a large influx of Chinese. It is not a
So,
good thing to see 40% of your new housing going to one group.
I see.
It is also not a
So,
good thing to see a large proportion of your whatever industry, tourist industry, gems industry, going into one group, because they can't help it. They try to do things the way they are used to. And our supply situation may not match it. That is the basic point.
so you say something about Maldives. You
Yes.
say something they chase away Indian or something, but we do not understand much about this. We went to
Well, right now,
value some hotels in Maldives. Can you elaborate a little bit more about Maldives? What happened to Maldives?
I think
What is
they
really
didn't know
happened to
what was
Maldives?
going to hit them. Actually, the man who created the Maldivian miracle is now living in Thailand. He was
really?
he was put in jail and then thrown out.
How come?
Mr. Adib. He was the
See.
vice president and he was the minister who brought tourism at this very high level with the top names, and the $2,000 a night
See.
being the norm into the Maldives.
Mm.
The Maldivian holidays go up to $10,000 a night. So
Wow.
in order to
A
get
lot of
that
money,
market,
indeed, spending.
in order to get that market, you have to give a lot. And he did it. Unfortunately, the companies who are still running these resorts didn't really understand what they were getting into. You don't get $10,000 a night tourist for declaring your own views. You have to declare his views.
Hopefully, those are not the resort we value.
That was the mistake they made. And now suddenly they are today in a position where now we have a lot of Sri Lankan workers. Their Sri Lankan workers can remit only 1/10 of their salaries. There is a national shortage of foreign exchange, even among the top tourist hotels. They have not got local people involved, and therefore it is very difficult for them to slash down salaries. So they are in a very vulnerable position, and they are not in a position to even give proper service. So that situation has arisen, that collapse of the economy, the collapse from being a country where money was of all types could be exchanged freely and easily, things purchased, even at inflated prices. They have come to a point where they are like Sri Lanka, can't import and can't pay. It was just that they didn't realize that quite a lot of those tourists are actually Indian tourists. And the moment you start bad-mouthing Indians, they stop. And then the others
Mr.
also...
Manish Chadha. Yes, sorry, sir. Mr. Manish Chadha. I thought you should be from India. Mr. Manish Chadha. Any comment from India about the influence of China and also something about Maldives, if you know something about Maldives? Mr. Chadha, any comment on that? We have many people here. And also Mr. Clayton Wade. Mr. Clayton Wade, our board member of FIABCI Thailand, and he is also an American, and he has a Thai wife, and he has business in Thailand for maybe over 30 to 40 years. So have a lot of experience. He also practicing like a broker as a broker in Thailand as well. Do you experience anything related to Chinese tourism, or maybe investment from China into the Eastern Economic Corridor and Pattaya, where you live in particular? Mr. Clayton, any contribution on this? something?
Yes,
Is that-
can you hear me
Please.
okay?
Yeah, hear you.
Yeah.
Actually, they've kind of taken over here as well. There's an awful lot of influence in the industry, in residential properties, the EEC. The Japanese are still the leader in industrial growth here in Thailand. They have been for a long, long time, but the Chinese are either very close or they're coming to passing up even the Japanese. I wanted to ask you, sir, about the general feeling of the people in Sri Lanka and how they feel about what has happened to Sri Lanka and the markets and the economy influenced by China.
Feelings are very, very strong and anti. It is quite natural because we never expected our economy to crash.
Again,
Even though I
crash
had
again,
been
sir?
writing about it for years,
No.
we were overtaken by an inflation. At the start of that inflation, the price of a rice packet, what a poor man buys on the street, went from 115 rupees. It had been about 60 rupees, came up to 115 rupees across 15 or 20 years. Then in 2 years, it went up to 200 rupees. And I predicted that within 6 months, it will be 400 plus. People laughed at me. Even the chief statistician told me that won't happen. And he told me I don't know statistics. But in fact, within 6 months, it happened. And it has continued to happen despite desperate attempts by the government of Sri Lanka to stop it, and by the IMF and World Bank and the whole lot of them. The reason is they don't address the real problem. You just cannot print money and get away with it. That's a simple fact. And secondly, at the time we negotiated with the Chinese for various things, the Chinese coming had no ulterior motive as suggested later. That was suggested by politicians. The person coming from Hambantota by accident, I was just in my house. And up my road is actually the chief man handling the subject. He got frightened, came to my house and took me. And I chaired the meeting. And I stopped the meeting a few times just to understand what they were after. And then with that secretary from China, we actually came to a very nice amicable agreement. The president immediately took away my credentials at that. He had never given me credentials either. I just happened to be down the road, living in my own house. So, but that breakthrough continued, and it was politicized. It has got politicized to the point that I can't quite remember, maybe last year or the year before, or maybe the year before that, Mr. China himself, the CCCC representative in China, walked into my house. And he said, hello. I said, I haven't seen you actually for years. And he said, yeah, but he came in as if he had just dropping in casualty. And I asked him, why have you come to see me? He said, well, we do have a problem. What is your problem? There's a lot of corruption. But you're the fellow who started it. And he, of course, smiled, looked around. But you see, that is the nature of this problem, which is that two peoples who don't understand each other. And I say this even in Thailand, there are people who say that they are of Chinese descent, but they don't understand China today. You're an American. I'm sure you don't understand what's going on in America today.
You're correct about that.
Yeah, for
So
your
the same thing with Chinese. So you have to make an effort because you're dealing with a powerful country, and you can't now, as far as Asian countries are concerned, we can't just ignore them. So you have to make an effort. And generally you can get it right. I'll tell you another story. It was when I was very small. I was a small boy. When the Chinese had first come, and we had a professor. His son was a good friend of mine. We were classmates when I was age 11 or 12. And Professor Gunesekera was the scholar in Buddhism and so on, and had done the World Congress. So when the Chinese Prime Minister Zhou Enlai came to Sri Lanka, Mrs. Bandaranaike looked around and had to have a translator, asked Professor Gunesekera. He came as the translator for Zhou Enlai's speech, inaugurating great ties between the two nations. Zhou Enlai spoke in Chinese. Professor Gunesekera got up and he spoke in our language, in Sinhala and in English. And everybody said, "Oh, what a good speech." And Zhou Enlai himself said, "I didn't know that we had a Chinese scholar here." So actually, I don't know a word of Chinese. But I assumed that you have come here with a good purpose. And I assumed this is the sort of thing you would say. "Oh, beautiful country, nice people, smiling people, so on." And I said that. Actually, I had expected to have a translation given to me to read out. But you didn't. So I extemporized. And I laughed. And actually a good relationship was started. But you have to take that step. You know, we as the smaller country has to take that step in order to bring these things to a common reality. If we start posing, and if we start having this bribery route, then of course you get into very serious problems. Now, for instance, in Uganda, the Chinese did the airport. And
Uganda.
how to do the airport, they got the contract. Then suddenly they said in Parliament, look, in this contract, the Chinese are paid once, and then thereafter we pay somebody else. Who gives the Chinese? The Chinese in return, they said, you know, every time we get money from you, we have to pay a bribe. So we'll give you one bribe, and the rest of the flow of money comes in a bribeless method. So, you know, these are not good ways that countries should deal with each other. So, given these realities, we have to find a way that the easiest way to get rid of this bribery and corruption. And then bribery and corruption stops on the other side also. Because I met plenty of Chinese businessmen who come and they are corrupt themselves against the government of China. So it is a mutual problem. And with goodwill, it can be settled.
In Sri Lanka, yes. So in Sri Lanka, what is the inflation right now?
Inflation, they say, has come down, but every time I go to the supermarket, I'm paying more than if I paid in the United States.
Oh, but maybe the government figure may be unrealistic or something.
No,
and
all our
property
economies
price
go into
property price
unrealism.
going up or something, sir?
No, our economies are all unrealistic, Sopon. We have gone on an unrealistic route.
Really?
Yes. You look around Thailand. Is there a price that you pay in Thailand that is a genuine price? Other than maybe for papayas and some things like that? No. A very good example is the gem and jewelry industry. We are the suppliers of the best sapphires in the world for centuries. And the Sri Lanka sapphire is greatly prized, and we don't allow it to be machine hauled. It is done by individuals going into pits and taking it out. Our gems, we have got specialists. Now, all gems going out of Sri Lanka have to go through an authority which grades every single gem, whether it is tiny or huge, whether it's a $600 gem or $500,000 gem, it goes through the process of appraisal and value. And there are independent, you can also get a Swiss agent, or you can get an American gemologist also to give you the value. Without that valuation, you can't take it out. And the people come in large numbers. But after the Chinese horde started to come, initially, that is 4 or 5 years ago, they said how cheap this is. And all the merchants are not the fellows digging this. The merchants shifted from trying to sell in Germany and Switzerland, they started selling to the Chinese. And the Japanese also faded out with this mass of buying. The Japanese actually are the correct and best market for our gems and jewelry. And in volume also. But the Chinese just pushed them out. Then they started slowly raising the price. And it went to, say, the $100 went to $200, $250. Then suddenly the whole mass of them said, they're far too expensive. You think we are incompetent to buy at this price? And the whole lot stopped buying. So the gem merchants, they were quite happy with $100 price. But having shifted to the $250, they now had a big mass of stock, which they had purchased under that new system of pricing. They were out. I mean, right now you can buy a gemologist for nothing. I mean, gem store for nothing. Because they've all crashed with the stop of the Chinese market. That's what I meant by saying don't get into a niche. Because today's capitalism works like that. There is no difference between the capitalists coming out of Beijing and coming out of Los Angeles. Both of them, they are all Larry Finks. They are all trying to take a position, capitalize on it fast, and get on. And they have got mass, you see, on their side.
So how many Chinese are there in Sri Lanka now? Can you count how many of them are there in Sri Lanka now? 100,000 or 10,000, 100,000 or something, sir? Any figures on it?
They are living in different areas, some of which have been leased out to them. And the maximum, I think, was about 40,000. It has come down substantially now.
Oh, I see. Why come down? What happened? The economy is not good or something?
Yeah, because the economy collapsed. They are not here for fun and games. They are here to make money. So once the opportunities to make money disappear, they also have.
Maybe they come to Thailand.
Yes.
Instead of to Sri Lanka. I see. So you said you expect that the economy of Sri Lanka may be down. When will it be? In the next 2 years or something? The economy will be down again. When will it be?
That is not an easy question to answer because you can adopt policies that will take you back. But the government and the people don't want to get back into that corrupt system. And the people have shown that they are willing to suffer provided we don't go into that corrupt system. So that makes it a longer haul coming out. And the other thing is that we only have the international institutions, that is the IMF. I see. The IMF is not cut out for this work. The IMF is really supposed to do balance of payments. And World Bank has too many conflicting obligations. We are no longer living in that world where this IMF World Bank worked. That was immediately after World War II. We are now in a completely different financial world, as I said, dominated by a different type of finance. So it's really because certain countries like Western Europe and America are actually too rich. So that old style capitalism doesn't work. I see. In those home countries.
One moment, sir. One moment. I saw Mr. Win Saw Woo. I saw you next a moment ago, and now you are still here. Mr. Win Saw Woo in Myanmar. There are so many people from China come to Myanmar. I think the influence of Myanmar, the influence of China should be very high in Myanmar, maybe similar to Sri Lanka, but in a different situation. So can you say something about this, Mr. Ma'u? Where are you now? You leave already? Yes, Mr. Winsor. Winsor, what is your contribution, please?
Call me a T friendly. My name is a T. Call me a T nickname. AHTEE.
Yes. From
Okay.
Marisa.
Yeah, good to see you, all of you, sirs. You all have a lot of experience more than I have. But as my little experience, and I like to share about the Myanmar. Even Myanmar is, close border to the China. We have a lot of things, even, if compared with the motorcycle, compared with the Indian motorcycle and Japan motorcycle and China. China is most very cheapest price. So everywhere, all over the country, you can see a lot of Chinese, even the motorbike also. No, we import a lot of motorbikes from Thailand, but Thailand is good quality, but
cheaper.
People can afford. People can afford. So nothing is, you may know about the 2021 happenings in Myanmar.
Yes, sir. Coup d'etat.
In Myanmar. Yeah, I don't want to say it's cool because, for the time being, it is very hard to say as for me about the coup. Yeah, but before 2021, Myanmar real estate situation is stable. Stable means not, how I say, stays and so on, not frequently. It's going through, how I say, steadily. And then after 2021, people are, waiting after that, maybe last quarter for 2021 to last, now maybe last quarter of 2020, third quarter of 2024, real estate situation is booming up because according to the, inflations of currency exchange. For example, 2021, if I'm not wrong, $1 in Myanmar chest approximately 1,300 or 1,500 just only. Now 4,300 or 4,500, 3 times inflation is raised up. So at the time, the people may worry about that one. They don't want to put a lot of money in the bank. Because if you go and put the 1 million in cash, the currency exchange 3 times. So for example, 1 million cash you put in the bank. But after the time of the period is long time, your 1 million become 300,000 cash only because of 3 times inflation, right? So most of the people in Myanmar who have a lot of money, they don't want to put a lot of money in bank. They go and buy the lands and house. Especially, they don't want to buy the house. Especially, roughly, they buy the lands only. Lands only because, for example, that time, how to say, buy and sell, make the profit like this. Some the rich man, they don't want to sell it again. They just only buy and keep for 3 years. On their side, they are totally correct according to this situation. Because for example, $100,000 for the price of the land now became maybe 2 times or above that one. But this according to the location. But the location must be beautiful, good for the business, can be doing for opening shop or whatever, you can do the business. that means that the location must be very good, right? So this is the first thing. But for the China influence is not only in real estate, but also in our country. You know, even the last time before I think before long ago, even we don't have the toothpaste. We cannot produce. You know, our Myanmar cannot produce the toothpaste. It comes from China because American product we cannot use because cannot afford. It's very far from the one. We like even my daughter sent me a lot of Victoria's Secret. I like it, very nice, but it took a long time to come and import to Myanmar. So we only rely on the Chinese product, not only for the lands and real estate, but also other things, a lot of. So
Thank you, sir.
Now we can say now situations are a bit how I say slow than before start quarter. Now we are reached in the, we can say, last quarter, right? Because now a lot of people in Myanmar look at people are wait and see for the election will be coming soon. So now the real estate situation is slower than the last quarter. This is the situation what we are facing, and also we have to learn a lot of experience and from Sri Lanka. I watch every news and thanks for sharing about the information of Sri Lanka, Dr. How I say, Dr. Darin. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I
Dr.
offer a
Darin,
small suggestion?
Dr. Darin, any last words, because it is an hour already. So you may kindly sum up. So how to
Let me sum up
assess the situation
by,
and how to tackle this problem.
Yeah. Let me sum up by addressing the point brought up by the gentleman from Myanmar. We also know a lot about Myanmar. We have common roots of religion. About 2 nights ago, I was talking to a social entrepreneur in the Congo. That man represents actually pygmies. Those very short paper. The pygmies of the Congo are located in the eastern Congo, a place called Ituri. The terrible diseases, so, and North Kivu. Those are locations where you also get gold. The miners bring out gold. They are the poorest people on earth and heavily exploited. In Myanmar, you also have the best rubies, the best many natural resources, gold, and you are poor. This is actually an absurdity. And I told this man in my pygmy friend, you are taking gold and exchanging it for some paper money, which is inflating and putting you in trouble. Why don't you keep the gold? And exchange gold for whatever you want and stick to your gold. Forget the paper money. Forget capitalism. Forget all the rest of it. And he refused to take that advice. But others listening realize that it's the case. Because Myanmar must think in terms of its actual resources available to you. In this new capitalism world, that is what you must concentrate on in how to raise yourself up. In every country, the solution will be a little different, but you have to concentrate on what you have, not what you want to get, and not what you are offered. You first understand what you have, and then the rest of the world will fall into place. That is my advice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we have a lot of information and thinking from Dr. Darin from Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. Let's give a big hand to Dr. Darin from Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. And before we leave, Dr. Darin, maybe on November 18, Monday, November 18, in the next 3 weeks, we will have a session, introduction to ESG, environmental, social, and governance, ESG. introduction to ESG risks in valuation. Introduction to ESG risk in valuation on Monday, starting from 9 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. Our colleagues from Europe and America may be in trouble because still very early, but for our ASEAN people, may be appropriate time. And the last speaker will be Mr. William A. Hanlin. He is the president and CEO of the International Association of Certified Valuation Specialists, IACVS. He is CPA and CVES and something else. So he is a very great man in speaking about the introduction to ESG risk in valuation. You are welcome to register. You can go to the website and then you can register. And some of you, if you are free, if you are from any country, if you are free, 18th of November, you can come because he will come to Thailand and to broadcast from Thailand from our Thai real estate business school. So you can come here and meet him in person. Otherwise, you can meet him in the Zoom, more convenient. But if you like to come, you can come here, stay in our hotel for a few days. But he will be on. This will be on November 18, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So you are all welcome to come, and also by Zoom. Okay. So this is the session, and we also have another session. Another session is something in December. In December 13, lucky number, December 13, we will have another webinar on mass appraisal and property tax in Taipei. Taipei is Taiwan in Taipei. So my great friend is Dr. Chi Ming Yu Chi Ming from Deputy Secretary General of the Taiwan City Government. I have another friend called Yu Chi Ming, but he is a professor at the Singapore National University of Singapore, another my senior. But this one is my friend, a little junior than me, but he is very great man, Dr. Chi Ming Yu or Yu Chi Ming, Deputy Secretary General of the Taipei City Government. So you can also come and listen. December 13, but he didn't come. He won't come. He will be in Taiwan, in Taipei, but by Zoom. So this is another very interesting session. Friday, December 13, lucky number. Friday the 13th at 4 p.m. At 4 a.m. New York time and 4 p.m. Bangkok time. Okay, and 5 p.m. Taiwan. If it is too dark, maybe he may be tired, so I make it 5 p.m. in Taiwan or 4 o'clock here in Bangkok, and for New York City maybe 4 a.m. So this is 2 sessions, but the immediate one is November 18, that will be on introduction to ESG risk in valuation of the company. Wow, very interesting indeed. But as you listen today, very interesting indeed, that is the Sri Lankan economic crisis and China influence on political economy by our Dr. Darin Gunesekera. Is our doctor from Ph.D. from Yale University, very top 10 university indeed, top university indeed in the USA, and also first honor, first class, and in University of Victoria and some other university, a lot of degree indeed. He was a deputy governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Very noble man in Sri Lanka indeed. So today, let's give a big hand to Dr. Darin again. And as I said, this is organized by FIABCI, International Real Estate Federation. And we have council of experts. We have council of valuers. We have council of brokers, council of PropTech, council of developers. So we have several council. But this council today, we have this session from Sri Lanka. So thank you everybody for joining. I see you again next time.
Great
bye
talk.
bye and thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Darin.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye everybody.
Thanks.
Mr. Clayton Wade and authors. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
all of you.
Thanks a lot.
Come
Thank
to
you.
Thailand December 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Mr.
I'm
Awao,
in-
because we have an event in Bangkok. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
I need to-
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.